Massage therapist or masseuse, have you ever had a session turn sexual with a client? How did it go down? YTF, is everyone's mom a massage therapist? Former esthetician here, not a masseuse. But I performed waxing on all parts of the body, so I certainly have a story or two. So, there's the Brazilian wax, which is everything gone from your downstairs, front and back. Salons have a male version they cheekily like to call manzillions. I've had a number of these, and without fail, when it comes time to take the towel away and start, there's at least a semi-chub going on. I'd explain that this happens with everyone, as DEs aren't very self-aware. They just know they're out. There's a lady, and they're just happy to be there. I then place my first strip of wax, let it set, then re-wipe, and it would be like letting the air out of a balloon. Strangely, I never got any phone numbers. Oh, and to do your butthole you have to be on all fours. Not my story, but a co-worker's. He was giving a massage to a client and things were getting flirty. She was an attractive woman and he pushed it. Well, I guess he sucked at reading clues because she was married and was being friendly. She filed a complaint on him and he ended up losing his license. My mom was a massage therapist for a few years. Never shared if when she had issues like that. But there was one couple who would come in for separate sessions about every 2-3 weeks. Apparently one day, the wife jokes that the massages are better than sex. My mom, since they're all on good terms, jokes with the husband about it the next time he's in. He pulls his head out of the pillow long enough to say, "Don't make me choose. I can't choose." Edit. He was saying he couldn't choose between sex with his wife versus a massage from my mom. Oh, I have a story as a client. I used to live in a great city located in Southern California. Across the street where I lived was a massage parlor ran out of an old historic home. I used to frequent as much as I could afford and things were great. Or so I thought. I had never been to a masseuse before then and thought big tubs, showers, and champagne was normal since it was the only point of reference I had. After each session I had, the ladies frequently asked me if I needed anything else or wanted to extend. Being very budget conscious, I'd say no thank you. It was great though. I'd get dressed and go home. On my last occasion though, things just felt off. She had me flip from my stomach and massaged my quads and let her fingers drift a little and would ask me if I wanted anything more. I'd sheepishly reply no. This is great. Thank you. As we finished she asked me one more time if I'd like anything else, but I declined. A few weeks later I'm walking home from work and the police are all over my street. As many of you have already guessed, they were busting the place for being a known brothel. I tiptoed back home and waited for them to come to my house and bust me, but thankfully that never happened. My mom and dad ran their own massage therapy business. My mom always said if a guy started giving any kind of signals that she would just start asking him about his mother. She said it never failed her. Edit. Thank you strangers for my first ever silver. I went from silver virgin to silver threesome in a flash. Edit part 2. And now a foursome. My mom is a massage therapist. She has worked at several chiropractic offices. Oftentimes, if you're good enough and trustworthy enough, the chiropractors will give you the key so you can see clients on the weekends. I once had to take an Uber to her work when she was scheduled to massage this one guy. He was married and new to the US. He had been sending messages to my mom, which made her question his intent, but chalked it up to him not speaking a lot of English. I get a call from her telling me to Uber to her place of work as soon as possible. Apparently the guy had sent a message with this code phrase that in the massage world means things are going to become sexual. So I'm the first to arrive. My mom gets there and tries to downplay the situation to make herself feel better by saying things like, well, maybe he just didn't know what that meant. I could be drawing a conclusion that isn't true. He has a wife after all. Man comes in with candy and flowers. He sees me sitting in the chair really confused. Hands them to my mom. She massages him. He pays her, gives me a sideways glance, and leaves. My mom's a masseuse and she says there are a lot of instances where clients try to make things sexual but she never reciprocate, but it can get pretty nasty. One time she told me that a dude asked her to massage down there and she refused, so he grabbed her boob and just kept his hand there for a while, and my mom didn't know what to do, so she just kept doing her job. There are also instances of people like calling to make appointments and ending the call with like, do you guys suck it, because I guess they think they're being subtle. Other than that, there's a lot of unnecessarily sexual moaning, but my mom just thinks that's funny. Edit. Okay to everyone saying that they've moaned during a massage. I'm not talking about regular moaning. There's a level of that in most of my mom's clients and it's not a big deal like it happens. My mom's immune to it by now. What I'm talking about is like a couple of times people moan so loud that the entire store hears and sometimes they'll get an erection. Happens more often than you'd think tbh. And say something that's the equivalent of, are you going to do anything about this? And when my mom is like, nah, they tip her terribly. Everyone who gets a massage and moans, you guys are fine. Most of my mom's co-workers see it as a compliment to their skills. I'm a physiotherapist, but I have extensive training in deep tissue massage and dry needling. Pretty much every time I treat my girlfriend it ends with sex. Probably the closest thing to an answer you're gonna get. You're probably not gonna hear any stories about people with licenses doing anything sexual with someone, as if it ever got out they would immediately lose their billing number. But I will say I've worked in a gym before where the RMT was sleeping with a few of his patients and outside of the gym. A guy I know ended up dating his chiropractor. There was mild flirting for a few sessions, and then she messaged him to say that he would need to switch to getting treated by a different chiro at the practice. He was pretty disappointed until she hinted, because we aren't allowed to date our clients. Few weeks later, so, babe, Dr. Steven doesn't do that in a quad massage that you used to do. Was that? Yup. Totes inappropriate. 10/10 would injure back again. One of my friend's exes was a massage therapist. She said she constantly had people asking for hand jobs or to wear a low cut shirt and such. Don't actual places for that exist in every major city? Why bother someone who could lose their job over it? Just curious. Is an ethics class part of the coursework when getting your massage license? My stepdad is a professional massage therapist. Asking him for stuff like that is answered with a no, and continuing means you're no longer a client. My massage therapist told me of a time a very hot woman was in for the first time. He told her to undress to her comfort level and left for her to do so. Usually at this point you then lay down under the sheet. But he entered a few minutes later to find her sitting naked in a chair asking what she should do next. He gives more detailed instructions now. When I was a teenager, my friend's mom was a massage therapist. One day when I went over there to hang out, she had a brand new RAV4 in the driveway. Me and my other friends always made jokes about how she gave happy endings, riffing off what her job was. Your mom jokes were popular for us then. Well, when we started asking him how his mom got a brand new $35 K premium package RAV4, he told us one of his mom's clients gave it to her for free. The jokes suddenly were too awkward to tell anymore. 8. So I used to work at this massage in Florida. It wasn't anything fancy, but it did the job. And we had a couple regulars that would come in maybe once a week. So this one regular that always asked for me came in one day and we started the usual small talk while I was prepping my things. And he says that he just recently got out of a really bad marriage. Our massage place isn't one that does happy endings, but I've given a hand job to a client before. So this guy isn't bad looking. Maybe 7/10. Good job. Nice car. He always tips nice. So towards the end of the massage he asks if he could get extra. I was confused at first and said, you can always get a shampoo or go in our massage chair for extra $. He said, no, I mean, can you do something extra? At this point I know what he meant and I smirked. So he flipped over to lay on his back and face me and I went to whisper in his ear, Epstein didn't kill himself. Okay, so I am a massage therapist. I was working out of a gym and the guy asked for a 30-minute massage on his legs and abs because he was a runner. Nothing unusual about that request. So I finished massaging his legs and was massaging his abs. I pulled down the sheet to his hips so his abs are exposed. He is completely naked under the sheet, not unusual. But the sheet is covering his privates. As I'm massaging his abs, he reaches his hand up to scratch his nose, but when his hand goes back down he accidentally pulled down the sheet to exposes his junk. I'm not bothered, I just pull the sheet back up over his junk and keep working. Then the sheet accidentally slipped down his hip again, exposing his D again. I cover him up again and keep massaging his abs as that is what he asked for. Then it happens again. So this time I grabbed the sheet and tucked it under his hips this time and kept working without a word. He didn't try again. I continued as if nothing had happened, finished the massage like a professional and sent him on his way, and thankfully he never came back. Edit. Typo, I meant massage therapist. Boy has one wrong letter caused a lot of comments lol. Edit 2. I apparently didn't describe this clear enough. The guy's D was resting in the up position on his lower abs inches from where I was massaging his abs. So when he exposed his D multiple times it became clear that he was hoping that I'd massage his D instead of his abs. This thread is believably disappointing. My sister wife had a male client who after the session decided to jerk off when she left him to allow him to get dressed. She saw he had jerked off all her massage table and had gone through a lot of tissues trying to clean it up. So the salon issued a warning on his account to remove all tissues and towels from the room once the massage is done. My wife said it was the funniest thing when he came in again. After the massage she calls the front desk and 2 girls come in and take everything out of the room. He got dressed really fast and left in shame and never came back. Edit. Hahaha, I didn't check Reddit for 6 hours and things went crazy. My sister wife is a joke between myself and my sister-in-law. My wife's sister. She knows my Reddit account. It's her story, which is why I included it. I had a very sweet female client face up and was massaging through her neck and occipital muscles the base of her skull when she leaned her face over and kind of pressed her cheek into my forearm and side nuzzled against me. She's just someone who totally zones out during massage, so while it wasn't overtly sexual, it certainly was an unusually intimate gesture. She snapped out of it and when I adjusted myself away from her cheek, a sap without being jarring, and blushed with immediate embarrassment. Other than that, I have a few clients, male and female, who make oddly sexual noises but no other obvious signs of arousal. With some of them I'm prepared for the worst when I ask them to turn over onto their backs. I think some of them may be getting more out of the treatment than I intend. But nothing untoward has happened, although we have had some people email and phone us to ask us if we do that kind of thing. If I wanted to jerk people off for money I could do that without going through 3 years of school and paying annual professional dues. My spouse, who is also a therapist, had a teenage male client of hers reach his hand out to touch her thigh while she was standing next to the table and she politely and firmly shut him down. That's about as bad as it's gotten so far. I, 31F, am a massage therapist and I've been in the field for around 3 years. I've been asked out on dates a couple times, and I declined, and that's about as far as it goes generally. I've seen my fair share of erections through the sheets. It's quite common when they relax. But there was this one man who said he'd tip me real good if I gave him a really deep tissue massage. He was so pompous I beat the snot out of him. He never really said anything, but he would literally wag his raging erection at me and I took it as a clear sexual message. Even though he didn't really do anything inappropriate. He tipped me $40 and I felt kind of dirty. All hearsay on my end. But while I was down near Gulfport after Hurricane Katrina, one of the guys in a crew I worked with went to a local massage parlor that was, well, a front. Ended up with more than he'd bargained for. And after telling co-workers, word got around really quick to the other debris cleanup crews in the area. I never saw it firsthand. I was FEMA and they were construction cleanup crews, so there was a professional distance. But lol, some of these guys had no filters and thought this would impress the younger FEMA inspector, I guess. Apparently this isn't uncommon. Massage parlors being fronts for essentially bordellos. And now I'm worried about needing a massage someday and accidentally walking into one of these establishments. Porn industry on a plot hunt. For a massage therapist this is pretty serious stuff. They could lose their license. I think this sort of thing would be exceedingly rare, not to mention immoral. So yes, but no. I had a man and his wife come in a couple months ago. Cute couple. They wanted to be in the same room, which is typical. I was working on the husband. As I was doing that I kept feeling him brush his hand against my leg. So I put out up on the table to get it out of the way. My thought was I was probably accidentally bumping into him or something. Well, a few weeks later husband comes back again. Alone this time. Same thing happened. Then all of a sudden his arm shoots up and his hands try to find their way down into my pants. I yelled and fell backwards into the wall. He gets up and tells me to hush. My boss knocks on the door and see the man standing over me naked. Yeah, he went to jail. Moral of the story. Respect your massage therapists. This isn't a movie. Most of us have student loans we're just trying to pay off. If made up answers is all that you want, you can go to Quora. I should have known. I married a massage therapist. Little did I know how far their no sexual act code would go. Man. So many stories of sexual misconduct and none of crazy sexcapades. It's like porn is just fantasy or something. Man, I hated Paolo. Such an asshole. I once heard about a guy who went to his usual haircut place to get a massage but ended up getting a hand job and had to call his dad to pay for it. This is an original story that I am telling. Well, I can speak for my masseur here. He got sexual with me and I reported him to the police. Hi. So my wife is a massage therapist. She has a strict policy and I'm positive it wouldn't go down like this. It's like any other job. I wouldn't come to McDonald's and ask for a blowjob on the side of my burger. Her right hand is constantly sore when she gets home. Specifically the wrist. But she says she just uses it more. If you've ever taken an opiate for extended periods of time, or ever had sex on one, you know how hard it is to have an orgasm. Men and women both, it seems. Whenever you come off of them and are in withdrawal, you become really sensitive. Once had a chick at a HA meeting ask me to blow on her nipples through her shirt. If I hadn't been in rehab myself, it probably would have escalated to more based on her reaction. That was an interesting life experience. Old buddy was in detox for heroin and they had a masseuse come in to give massages. He was day 3 off and starting to feel things again and got a deep tissue. He said she put her elbow into his leg and he let out a grunt and jizzed all on the blanket since he had maneuvered his boner to the top of his shorts. She apparently asked him to roll over a little later and there was the clear as day cum stain. He said she was 40 but all witnesses that day claim she was 80. Apparently they both handled it well and she just said, let's get you a different blanket. Weird how in the US you can have every square inch of your body pleasured by someone else for money except your genitals. Coincidentally, I asked my Thai massage therapist about this last week. She said that whenever she will get a male client she doesn't sit no. She will yell us keep your undies on before entering the room. If they still try something funny, she'll just find some really painful spots and concentrate on them until he is us relaxed again. Yes, one of my clients had a hard time getting on the table and when I was demonstrating how, he straddled me. Then he thought I was gonna massage his anus. The straw that broke the camel's back was when he got a boner during the session and asked me if he could do hand relief. I dismissed him. Well, my uncle met his wife when she was working as a masseuse. I DK the exact story though, but I would imagine it went down and dirty. No pun intended. When I was 18 on a family cruise holiday around the Caribbean, on a day at sea we won the pub quiz and won vouchers for a session in the spa. I opted to use mine on a deep tissue massage. Being 18 and recently single, when I was on my back and she did my legs I got rock hard. The woman was Filipino and stunning. When I stood to get dressed the boner was obvious as hell. Just before leaving the room, after she came back in to check I was okay, she gave me a squirt of massage oil in my hand and said for bathroom. Laughing, I was red-faced embarrassed. Then had an epic wank and a spa shower. During a high school trip to Vietnam, all of the boys on the trip decided to get massages while the girls got pedicures. Me and a few of my mates were in a room together and halfway through our massage one of my friends and the guy massaging him started cracking up. It turns out that due to how incredibly sweaty we were and his loose underwear, both of his nuts slipped out from between his legs when he was being stretched by his masseurs. Throughout the rest of the session, our masseuses and ourselves would sporadically burst out laughing. LMT here. One of my male clients jerked off in my trash can after I concluded the massage and left to let him get dressed. I never scheduled him again. There was another guy that I saw a lot when I was fresh out of massage school who would hint towards sexual activities more and more every time I saw him. I brushed it off because it was good money till he tried to spank me. My schedule got too busy to book him after that session. I really wish prostitution was legal so people would stop coming to us to get off. Edit. Thanks for the silver. That's a first. I came here expecting funny sex stories. Realized there's a lot of creepy masseuses and clients. I went to a massage for the first time and my mom requested a female for me because she didn't want a perv touching me. I drove myself to the salon and when I walked in everyone was looking at me weird like I wasn't supposed to be there. They also said they didn't have an appointment under mine or my mom's name. They said it must have been their fault so they took me back anyways. Well, I got a man. No big deal. And he was doing his thing and I was doing mine. Everything was fine until he said, "I've never massaged anyone like you before." I asked what he meant. He said, "This place is typically just for men." I felt weird but he continued, "I prefer men but women need pleasure too." And then I got my clothes up and left. I wasn't even at the right place. He was cute though. Creep wanted me to pop spots on his D. No thanks mate. I don't want an ST. I was so uncomfortable I just carried on massaging. I should have said GTFO when he kept trying to undress the garments I told him I didn't want him removing. No. Seeing your old manky spot cock will not arouse me you freak. Late to the party here. But here's some stories as a licensed massage therapist. I've never had anything turn sexual but I've had my fair share of weird men. The first that comes to mind is this guy that came in with his own special oil that he wanted me to use. I was only a few months in at this point and thought, sure, why not? Well, I put some on my hands and started working on his back and it got warm. Based on the texture and the warming sensation I'm positive it was the warming KY jelly. The next, we were going over his intake form and talking about areas of pain. If he wanted deep tissue massage, etc. When out of the blue he dropped his pants, whitey tighties and all, and stood with his hands on his hips and asks, "You like what you see?" I immediately left the room and told him through the shut door that he would need to get dressed and leave. He walks out to our front desk area and had the nerve to ask what he did wrong. He bolted when I threatened to call the cops. Also, it was a micro-peen. A friend of mine got a hand job. He told me the woman just started doing it randomly. Funny enough he explained to me with a serious face that he thought he would get in trouble because of it. Burst out laughing at the thought of some undercover cop touching his D and saying "I've got you now." Hey, can finally contribute to this. I've been a registered massage therapist for 7 years now. There has been accidental slip-ups and whatnot which I just brush off. But one time a girl asked me to hop on the table with her which was back when I was in my early years of practice. We didn't cover much of this in class BTW. So totally oblivious I said no it's unethical and should have stopped the massage there but I kept going as if nothing happened. Finished the treatment paid and never saw her again thankfully. My boss was pissed off. Told me to see the cops about it since you never know what can be said in case of male versus female. So I did see the cop and he laughed at me : "Maybe not the happy ending you reader expected but this doesn't happen very often. Still fun work though." Ask the workers at the Chinese massage places. They don't even know how to massage. Posts asks a specific question to a targeted group of specialists. 95% of comments are from people saying, "Well, I'm not who you're asking the question to. But here's a story I heard on the bus from my cousin's ex-wife's dog." Typical as credit. I had a girlfriend that was a physical therapist and she decided to give me a massage. Something she had never done for me before and I expected it was going to end up sexual. But she found something about my spine that concerned her and she started to manipulate the sore spot. It was incredibly painful. I was in agony and she kept doing it so I got mad and told her to stop. It ruined the mood because she was also mocking me for not being able to take it. I guess that is the opposite of what this thread is looking for. Either a place is sketchy and offers happy endings as regular practice, or it is a professional operation where sexual encounters are entirely off the table, despite what Pornhub may lead you to believe. My ex-girlfriend owns a massage studio and has had to kick a few clients out and even press charges against one guy that literally put his therapist's hand on his D. If you aren't dating your massage therapist, don't try to take things in a sexual direction. This is literally one of the most stressful aspects of being a massage therapist. All that said, I definitely did get a happy ending once when my ex gave me a massage in her studio after hours. We had been dating for about 6 months at the time. It was about as good as you'd expect. Take your horny ass to Quora. Not gonna lie, I think I did this by accident. I was getting PT for my neck and had a student massaging my neck. And I mentioned that if he was even in the area of my university, I was home for the summer, that we should hang out. I never meant it as anything more than hanging out. But after that the actual physical therapist did all the massages instead. Not me, but a very close friend of mine and his fiancée registered sign were on holiday in Thailand. They both decided it would be a great idea to go get a massage together, so they found a nice little bungalow style building that looked very reputable. There were signs inside that stated specifically no happy endings here. They were both whisked off to separate massage rooms, and while my friend was having his massage, the masseuse started to massage his bum and slowly moved her hand in between his legs. He asked them to stop and the masseuse replied, "It's okay, don't worry about sign," and tried to continue massaging his nether region. He had to push her hands away multiple times to get her to stop, and eventually he got up and walked out. Being the honest man he is, he told his fiancée registered sign immediately and she was shocked. On the way back to the hotel room they were discussing it in the taxi, and the taxi driver actually chimed in and asked if they went into the parker together, which they did. The driver then explained that if my friend had taken them up on the offer, he would have been blackmailed into paying them more, with the threat of divulging what occurred to his fiancée registered sign. Apparently it's a very common occurrence and most men will pay the extra to keep them quiet. I am not one. If there is demand, I could write fiction about it and make it boringly believable on an alt account for you popcorn poppers. I got a gift certificate to a local massage therapist I'd never been to before. It was very, how can I say this diplomatically, very traditional. I'm about 75% sure my massage therapist was trying to offer me the upgrade a few times during my massage. Luckily, I didn't get aroused because I think that would have been a green light. I was in the military stationed overseas and I had a friend who frequented a massage parlor. One day he was getting a massage and had the lady asked if he was interested in anything else. He refused, but she was very persistent. He continued to say no, and after about the third time she shoved her thumb in his ass and made him leave. He only told me, as far as I know, we never spoke of it again. I'm a male and I was a massage therapist for 5 years. I only had one lady that made me uncomfortable during a massage by asking me what my fetishes were and what not. It was pretty easy to change the subject to something else. Most of the time it was guys trying to push it by brushing their hands against my legs on purpose. I'm talking obviously on purpose. Or weird it like thrusting their hips upwards while making straight eye contact. It's kind of easy to gauge from the get-go when someone is expecting something else. I've always been able to defuse the situation. But if all else fails, we are trained to just end the massage and document. Then the client knows they ducked up as they get dressed, knowing their creepiness just made their massage shorter and they still have to pay. Me and my friends visited a masseuse one time just for the hell of it. We were in Vegas with some free time and it sounded relaxing, right? Well, we each go into our separate rooms with our own masseuse, and when we finish and come out my friends are talking about how nice it was. Then I asked if they also thought it was weird that they massaged their butts and they just went quiet. Turns out I was molested. I used to be a massage therapist here in Las Vegas 20 years ago. I had problems with male clients asking me for happy endings, FKU friends, and female clients offering me sex instead of paying me in the money. It was just one headache after another. I finally went back to working as a utility porter for the casinos. Might get buried, but I'll chip in. A friend of mine told me that one of her co-workers, who was a masseur, was giving a massage to a female client and decided to try and slip a finger in. Well, the client was a cop. Simple to say, he won't be working again for a long time. Not me and not a masseuse, just my poor dumb jarhead friend. I told my friend about being able to get a massage at one of the bigger bases when we were deployed to Afghanistan. He gets one, accidentally comes on the poor masseuse. So a bunch of briefing come out about the masseuses on the bigger bases not being sex workers. Everyone thinks it's because people were trying to get sex. Turns out my friend was slightly sleep sex deprived, came all over some poor lady. He described it as waking up from a wet dream with unending embarrassment. He said it just wouldn't stop. An entire year of no sex and all stress. This, my good sir, is what happens when you don't give it the serious tag. A friend of mine is a masseuse, and when we first chatted about our respective careers, I couldn't help but asking whether he'd ever had a saucy encounter while working. His reply was, when I begun I was always hanging out to massage attractive women. I quickly realized that it's 99% middle-aged men who've let themselves go and have joint issues. As a former professional massage therapist in the US, I have worked on all types of bodies from obese to a few models, usually somewhere in between. During my sessions I communicate with my clients and try to help with any physical discomfort or just relax them if that's what they need. Every so often my mind might wander into the realms of what if, but mostly I am working on a meat machine trying to assess and repair by literally feeling the muscles and tendons under the flesh. Most therapists make this their living, so it's not worth a dear penthouse moment to risk all that time and money invested in getting their license. I will say though, I have no hesitation using my skills on an actual date, and have never had a complaint. I'm not a massage therapist and I've had many massages and different masseuses. Masseuses? What's the plural for this? I've been hit on once by a guy in Vegas during my massage and it was so uncomfortable. I'm literally naked under a blanket and I don't know you. Don't make this any more awkward than it already is, please. Oh, my time to shine. Had a client come in and ask for an erotic massage. I told him I didn't do those and if he wanted a therapeutic one we could proceed with his session. He agreed, and halfway through his massage when I turned him over supine he had an erection. He then asked if I would take care of it. I told him his session was over and he was going to pay me $100 for my time, and if he did anything else inappropriate I would call the police. I left the room. He came out and paid, then went on his way, and I started crying after he left. I maintained my composure while he was there because thankfully my training came with scenarios like this where we